Hi everyone, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Sir.
My headphones have a low battery. I hope I don't have trouble during class. It's just cross fingers. All right. So about the questions that we had last time about the coming midterm. So it's going to be on Moodle. Thing is, starting at 8:30, then you're going to see the midterm and be able to click on it. You have some time to click on it, do it. And I believe it's until 10 that you can, basically, so you're allowed to do it. So you have to do it during this window of time. So I highly advise you to start early. So start not too late to take advantage of the whole time. Now, is it about the format? So it's not MyLab format, it's just Moodle format. So I've seen the questions, I have been able to give feedback and change a few things. So to make sure that everything I told you is going to be the case. So hopefully you do well, you make me proud by having a good class average. I'm sure it's going to be perfect. So just to get things out of the way, is there like one or two questions about the midterm? Otherwise, we jump into today's material.
Is it the same format as MyLab, the questions?
Yeah, no, so so MyLab questions are strange in the sense that some are easy or not too difficult. Some are quite challenging, in my opinion. So these ones are on the less difficult side. I'm just saying that so that you don't stress. I'm not saying that so that you don't study. Still, you have to know the material, how to compute the basic things, what's a slope, what's an elasticity, what's how do you find a market equilibrium, this kind of thing. So you know, show that you know the most fundamental part of the class.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the midterms from 8:30 to 10?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's not the whole 1 hour. Anyways, check on the well, I told last time what it was exactly. So
yeah, like it's not the whole hour and a half.
yeah, exactly. I think
So, oh yeah, okay. So they're only like 75 minutes.
Yeah. Oh gee, I didn't think I would have to check that again, but yeah.
Okay.
All right. Oh, I can't find it. Oh, anyways, go back to the earlier lecture. I said the format. Start. You know what you have to do is open on Moodle at 8:30. Click on the exam. Do it. That's it. Okay. So it's going to be fine. Yeah. Okay. All right. So about today's material. So
Wait, sorry.
Oh, okay. Last question. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, is this exam proctored, or can we technically have like notes that we wrote?
It's no note, but yeah, so yeah, it's no note officially. So and I'm going to hide everything from the web page so that you don't get access to the textbook and anything. So here's my take on it. What happens if we allow notes? It's horrible for two reasons. First of all, everybody thinks, oh, well, I have my notes, therefore no problem. But so I don't have to learn stuff. So then what happens at the day of the exam? One, you get questions that are like, oh, what it is again? I forgot. Then you start checking where it is in your note, and you waste so much time. And second of all, you answer wrong anyways, because you didn't study. So relying on your note is the worst thing you can do, because it's long. Really, so I just went through all of them, all of the questions, reading all of them, checking the computation, checking all the choices. It takes a lot of time. You have zero time to start checking your notes. That it's not difficult, but it's feasible, but to answer all the questions well takes time. So really don't think that you're going to be able to take 5 minutes for each question to check how it's done in your note. You're going to waste so long. You have to be very fast. My advice to you is do all the labs again and again and again to become super fluent, especially in the topics that are important and that you're kind of unsure about them. So just learn to do it quickly.
Sorry, just one more question is, will there be a penalty for any incorrect answers?
No penalty.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it's 5 choices each time, A, B, C, D, E. So, I mean, it removes most of the advantage of clicking at random. That said, if you're out of time at the end, do click at random. You have 1 chance out of 5 of getting the right answer, so it's better than nothing. But yeah, it's not that good.
Okay. Sorry, is the penalty regarding late submissions? Because my audio cut out at that part.
Well, you have to. So once. I don't know how it's set up exactly. Sometimes on Moodle, they cut your ability to click on stuff in the answers, but you still have the ability to submit it. I don't know how it's done, so do submit it before the end, so to make sure it's that you don't have any problem. Do we join? No, you don't join the. There's no special Zoom meeting. You're on your own. But I checked the questions and they're super clear. All of the teachers vetted them, and yeah, so really I don't think there's any ambiguity there. So yeah, till chapter 5, yes. Okay, so jumping back to today's material. So a student made me realize last time that actually the appendix of chapter 6 was supposed to be done last time. And so the thing is, there's no slides for appendix of chapter 6. So there's just, I follow the slides that were giving me to me, and then, oh, it's over. So let's start the next chapter. But then I checked on what is the actual appendix of chapter 6, and it's super interesting. And it's all the real microeconomic theory stuff that we should actually learn. So I thought, okay, and since we're back to where we should have been in terms of actually we were a bit ahead of time. So I decided, okay, let's do some freestyle today. So I'm not going to use any slide. And this is going to be my take on the micro theory and the appendix of chapter 6. So that's what we're going to do. Maybe at the end, if we have time, we can hop in back to the producers. But just before digging too deep into firms and all these things, let's finish with the consumers. Okay, so let me share my screen quickly. So all of this I'm going to be sharing with you afterward. But just in case if something goes wrong and I lose my paper or something, my virtual paper. So you can take notes. All right, so and by the way, it's tons of material. So and it's not that easy. So follow me along, ask question if you let's start with types of good. Well, no, before types of good, let's go with indifference curve. Okay, so now I'm going to use the same example as before. So we have I'm not going to write food per week and clothing per week, just food. Clothing, you know, it's per week. And let's think some more about what we were saying before. Okay, so I'm going to draw things that look curvy, but I can't draw them perfectly curved. So that's my best attempt. So assume it's curved, right? Oops. Not too happy about this. Okay. So this is an indifference curve. All right, and this is my, so let's use gray. Oh, let's use it. Black. So this is something we've seen last time. So the slope is the change in clothing that you have to incur if you want to increase the unit of food by 1. So this is the definition of the slope. So you see that it's sort of a tangent line to this curve that would be a curve if I could draw it perfectly. So somebody remember the name of that? What is it called? Or did I say it? Or maybe I didn't. Anyways, let's rewrite it. It's the marginal rate of substitution. And the formula is the formula of this of that curve. Do you remember? No, it's minus the marginal utility of let's say food divided by the marginal utility of clothing. By the way, you can always take the textbook. So I advise that you take the textbook and actually read the appendix. But since there are no slides, I don't feel like teaching with by reading the book. It would be stupid. All right. So what does that mean? So marginal rate of substitution. So the indifference curve is just to say that again. So it's the combination of food and clothing consumption that bring me the same level of utility, happiness, etc. I would be if both 2 points on an indifference curve are available, I could choose either. So that's what it means. So you don't even have to have concept of what is utility or happiness. What you say is, if I can, for some reason, consume either here or here, then am I going to choose one or the other? It doesn't matter. I could choose one, I could choose the other. That's my behavior. That's what it means. Okay. Questions. Why is the indifference curve negatively sloped? All right, somebody knows? Why is this the negative slope here? Why isn't it a positive slope?
Because
Well,
The
because
light.
there's only a limited amount of clothes and food that you could consume.
Not exactly. Here we're talking about tastes. So I could consume, and well, it's true that I could, at some point, I'm just going to be buried a bit below tons of clothing and food. So I don't really need it. But in principle, what we're saying is we could always have some more, and we would be a bit more happy.
Someone wrote something with the chat.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't check the chat. Because there's also people either eat a lot and are dressed lightly, or are dressed a lot and they don't eat. Is that it? Okay, the other one, when food utility increases, cloth utility decreases. Not exactly. I like having utility by dressing, and I like eating too. So go back to what an indifference curve is.
Atanas has its hand up.
Say that again.
Atanas has
have my
an
hand.
answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember you said in the last class that depending on income, for example, if someone's poor, they're likely going to spend more on food than on clothing. Whereas if someone that's rich is probably going to spend more on like luxurious clothes than food, because their basic needs are like filled.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that today, but there's a fundamental reason. So why is an indifference curve this way and not this way, for instance? So why am I not indifferent between this and that and this and that, and why is it a negative slope here?
Because you don't have so much money you can spend.
No, we're not talking about budget yet.
Because like your happiness of getting more sometime after having few like clothes, it won't bring you more happiness, or
I think, okay, yes.
In the
So
food,
that's the, I think that's the cross of, yeah. So answer, because if I consume one more unit of food, then I'm happier to stay under indifference curve. I must have fewer or less clothing. So that's it. So if you increase my amount of food by 1 unit, and so I become happier because I like food. So the thing is, I like clothing too. So the only way for me to stay as happy or unhappy as I was before the increase in 1 unit of food, then you have to decrease the 1 unit of clothing. It's somehow like my happiness budget. For the budget is, how do I stay on the same budget if I increase the consumption of food by 1 unit? I have to decrease the consumption of clothing by some amount to spend the same. Now it's to stay on the same level of happiness, but that's the basic idea. No, not exactly yet, but it's kind of the answer to the next question. So, whoops. Question. Why is the slope becoming flatter as I increase my consumption of food? So here, what I'm saying is, if I travel along an indifference curve, if I increase my consumption of food, then the curve, the slope was very steep here, and it becomes flatter and flatter and flatter. And yes, it has to do with marginal rate of diminishing marginal. Yes, that actually, so yeah, the slope is the marginal rate of substitution, and it's actually diminishing. So, but can you give me a concrete sentence to explain to me, or explain to your aunt, or to your dad, or whoever isn't an economist, why this phenomenon would happen?
Is it because marginal utility diminishes the more you use the product?
Yes. So, but be a bit more specific. So, don't use technical terms. Just tell me in real life what happens.
Maybe because at that point, there's just so much food that you can't even consume it all. You have to throw some of it out.
Yes, and on the other hand, if I'm here, I don't have a lot of clothing, right?
The more money you spend on food, the less money you have to spend on clothing.
Yeah, but I don't like money. So I'm just describing preferences here. So this is just pure preferences. We haven't introduced budget yet. So here is the summary of what it is. So if I answer, if I have a lot of food and little clothing, so this is what it means. If I'm in this portion of the curve, I have lots of food and low level of clothing, then you have to give me lots more food to compensate for the loss of my last shirt. So that's what it means. So if it's very flat, it means that the marginal gain I have from having extra food is little, whereas the marginal loss or happiness loss I have from losing some clothing becomes very high because I have so little. So if you are asking me, oh, you only wearing a t-shirt and some trousers, and okay, remove the t-shirt, then you have to compensate me by giving me lots and lots and lots of food, because at some point I don't care about food anymore. So, and concretely what that means is marginal utility in the formula. Marginal is small and marginal utility of clothing is large. So the ratio there, this divided by this, tells me if my slope is steep or not. So this is very small, this is very large. So then the ratio is going to be something that is very small. So the slope is almost zero. Horizontal means the slope is zero, and vertical means it's infinite. All right. So yeah, those who lifted their hands, whoever wants to go first.
Well, sir, in the formula, is the marginal utility, is that like a point on the indifference curve, or is it something else?
Marginal utility of food, what is that?
Yeah, like what are you dividing?
This marginal utility of clothing. So okay, yeah, MU food. So let me define my terms again. MU food, so the marginal utility of food, the extra utility I gain from one more unit of food. And so if I'm there, since at some point I'm not hungry anymore, so this extra utility I gain from one extra unit of food is small. So that's what it means. And of course, it's clothing. Marginal utility of clothing. It's the extra utility I gain from one more unit. And yes, it depends. It changes at every point. So the more food I have, the smallest MU food is. The more clothing I have, the smallest MU clothing is.
No, but I mean, like, what would be like the numbers? Like, would it be like the point of clothing
utility?
Yeah, so you don't have a real measure of utility. I don't know if the number is 10,000 utils or 1 million utils, or all I know is the extra utils I gain from having an extra shirt when I have 1,000 shirts is very little. I don't care about having another shirt. That's what it means. But so you're right that it's a bit more abstract than when we're going to talk about firms, because firms, it's very easy to say, oh, well, if I add an extra worker, then I'm going to produce 5 extra Big Macs per minute, for instance. So or 5 Big Macs, that's a lot. So maybe 2 extra Big Macs per minute, if I'm a McDonald's, for instance. So that's a concrete measure of output of stuff. Here, happiness, who knows what it is, right? Okay, so special utility curves. So imagine I have something like this. Yeah. And then my indifference curve looks like this. What is that? So here, what I've been saying there is it becomes flatter as I increase the amount of food. Here it doesn't become flatter, it's always the same slope. What could that be?
Doesn't that refer to like the same rate of change or something like that? Like,
Yes, exactly. So it's too good for however much I have of one or the other, the rate at which I'm willing to lose one and gain the other is always the same. So can you think of an example of some sort of good like that? Oh yeah, so 20, 20, 34, 26 at few something as their hand raised, so you can talk. Or maybe if we just forgot to, or Sarah Tagwati too.
Yeah. Two kinds of your favorite chocolate.
Two what?
Two of your favorite kinds of chocolate.
Yeah, not sure. So imagine that I really like white chocolate and dark chocolate. But so they're my favorite kind of chocolate, but they're different. And then you give me 10,000 bars of dark chocolate. At some point, maybe I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? I would rather take back 10 bars of dark chocolate to get one more bar of white chocolate.
Okay.
Then maybe something that's even more similar, like two different types of bottled water. Just
Yes,
like plain water.
Exactly. So that's exactly right. So this is Naya water, and then crystalline water. I don't know the brand. I just know that I've heard these ones. So, and we call them then perfect substitute. So in that case, even if I have almost all crystalline water, if you start wanting to trade crystalline bottle with the same amount of Naya water, all right, so I'm going to trade 1-to-1, for instance, and whatever the quantity of one or the other, I don't get tired compared to the other, it's the same thing. And then I could do the, so I guess you're going to see where I'm going with the next example. If I have something like that looks like this. So what would that be?
Are those products that have no relations between them?
If there's no relation between the two. Well, it could still look like this. So what's the relation between food and clothing? You might say, yeah, well, I like to dress well when I go to a party, when I eat, or but there are no real like fundamental connection between food and clothing. It just so happens that if you give me too much food, I don't care for that anymore. And if you give me too much clothing, I don't care for clothing anymore. And the fact that the marginal rate of utility changes along that axis and that axis is gives rise to this curve there. So yeah. So to answer that question is give me an example of some good that you think would like put some two goods that would have curves like that. So to give you a hint, so here I have some curve that looks like this. So if I make it flatter and or more like straight, I get this. And this looks more like the other extreme. If I make it even more steeply curved like this, the extreme of that would be this. So if this is perfect substitutes, what is this?
Perfect complements.
Yes, perfect complements. But so now give me an example. Yeah, an example is not all that easy to think about. So I'm going to give you the classic example. So left shoe and right shoe. So why? Well, because, well, maybe I could draw a few more indifference curves. Because, you know, I have an infinite number of them. This. So here, what do these indifference curve mean? It means that, imagine I have, well, let's give me the same number of them. So imagine I have two pairs. So I'm where? I'm here. I have two right shoes and two left shoes. Now you give me one other right shoe. Does that make me happier? No, because I can't use it. You give me 10 more right shoes. I don't care. I'm at the same level of happiness as before. The only way to increase my level of happiness is to give me one left shoe with my right shoe. So that's how perfect complements work. So they have to be, but so they are extremely linked together actually. So yeah, that's the opposite of they have to be used together. Does that make sense?
Yes, good.
All right. So this is nice. Yeah, go ahead.
Could you explain perfect substitutes, please?
Okay, so yeah. No matter how much of one or other I have, I always trade. I always want to exchange them at the same rate, right. Let's see, or ratio. So if I think that one bottle of crystalline water is worth one bottle of Naya water, then if I have 10 Naya bottles and no crystalline water, I'm going to trade them 1-1. If I have 10 crystalline water bottles and no Naya water bottle, I'm still going to trade them 1-1.
I have a question. In the previous problems that we did, there were a pair where it was a ketchup and French fries. Can we consider them as perfect complements?
Yes, because the only thing you can do with the French fries is put ketchup on it. And if you give me extra French fries, but no extra ketchup, then I'm not happy. I can't do anything about it. No, there are somehow complements, but not perfect compliments. So why? Because I can eat my French fries with no ketchup, and I could put my ketchup on some other meal too. Yeah. So they would
Okay, thank
look
you.
like this. Yeah. Okay, so now let's go to even more fun things. So I'm going to create another sheet of paper. Yeah, let me save that one just to be sure I don't lose it. All right. Types of good. Guess. So we're having game. Guess what type of good it is. Oops. So let's start with this. And now I have some budget constraints. So let's just say it's here, for instance. And I consume, let's see here. I'm not going to have this anyways because it's good. And I'm going to save time by. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to leave always the same. This is. This is. All right. Okay. So let's start with an easy one. So this is my initial budget. Now I have another budget curve. So let's put that in like this, for instance. And my new consumption is here. So my indifference curve must have been something like this. And then I have another one. This. Well, it should be more concave, but yeah. Let's do it better. Wow, I'm not good at drawing stuff this morning. All right. So then question. What type of good is food? So is it ordinary, given, normal, inferior good, luxury? What can we know? What happened? Can somebody make up a story about what happened there?
I think it's a normal good because with the budget lines, when my income goes up, I buy more, so like that.
Yes, exactly. So the budget, the income increased. and I consume more food as a result. Because you see the quantity of food consumed went from this amount there to that amount there. So yeah, and how do we know that the budget increased? Well, the two lines are parallel, but that line is means that I have more budget to spend either on food or on clothing. So then I know that my budget increased, and as a result, my quantity of food consumed increased. So I know that food is a normal good. Now,
But how can we see that the budget increases?
because that's what happened. When you have a curve that's the budget line, which is parallel to the other budget line, but more to the right and up, then you know that it means you have more money to spend. So that's,
thank you.
That's the thing. You have to know first what happened to that person. So that person had the job promotion, for instance, or something. And then, okay, what happened in terms of their consumption? Okay, next one. So same as before, but now this. Oh, yeah, no, I can't do that. Sorry, that's bad. Again. There. And, oh, yeah, no, that's not what I want, actually. I want there. And there. All right. Then I have to draw my budget lines properly. That's one. That's the other. Then let's just see, I have food and clothing. Question: what type of good is food?
Inferior.
Yes. Inferior good. The income increased. And I consumed less food. So I'm not saying that food is inferior. Food is generally a normal good, but you know, that's I could draw some inferior. See, there's some inferior good there. Okay, questions about this? No?
Yes, so I just wanted to check inferior goods are like goods that are not bought anymore or less bought because of consumers' income increase, right?
Exactly, that's the exact definition. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue on. Same question as before. What type of good is food? If I was here, now I'm here. So what type of good is food? Oh, and let me draw some. So again, I start with the solid line and I go with the dotted line there. So my second budget line. That's a harder one.
I think it's Giffen goods, but is it?
So you're right that we're on the part where we are changing prices. Now, first question: what happened to my budget? What changed in the world from this line to that line?
It was smaller budget.
Yeah, but can you define small?
That means you have less income.
No, not exactly. Less income would be this, that would go there, for instance. That would be less income. Now it's this is at the same point as before, but this has decreased.
The food is more expensive.
Yes. Okay, good point. So food became more expensive. The price of food increased. So how do I know that? Well, before I could spend my whole budget on clothing and I could buy this much clothing. After, I can buy exactly the same amount of clothing. So I know that my budget hasn't changed and the price of clothing hasn't changed because this is the same point. Now, before I could buy this much food, now I can buy half as much. So I know that the price of food has doubled. Well, actually, I could even write price of food has doubled.
Wait, sir, what's the initial line? Like,
Yeah, everywhere I'm going to write. So
yeah, that's the first one. And the second one is a dotted one, right?
yeah. So
Like
this
the shift.
is, yeah, I should have made sure to say that. So, oops. But you know, in the end, whatever we say, it doesn't change the interpretation. But yeah, it's good to just for us talking that we know what we're saying. So, initial situation. This is final situation.
Sir,
All right. Yeah.
I'm having a hard time understanding the last one.
Yeah. So
I don't understand why it doesn't show like that you have like less budget for food. Wait.
So imagine that,
yeah.
Let me give you an example. Imagine that I have $10 and each socks costs $1. How many socks can I buy? I can buy 10. So I'm here. Now the price of socks jumps from $1 to $2. So if I spend my whole budget on socks, then well, that's such a bad idea example because I'm talking about food. Okay, so imagine it's Coke bottles. So the price of Coke bottles is $1 and I have $10, so I can buy 10 Coke bottles. Now the price jumps from 1 to 2. So instead of buying at most 10, I can buy at most 10 divided by 2, 5. All right. So that's how I know that the price has changed. So this is budget change, income change here, and this is price changes.
Can you give me an example where the income like, is there any example, any type of good where the income decreases?
So the income is just some exogenous variables. It's something I change whatever I want. Here I'm just saying, imagine you just got a promotion, so your income went up.
Yeah, but like, for example, a normal, why is it called a normal good? Because the income, in that particular example, like normal good, the income increases, right?
Yeah, so my income increased, and as a result, what happens to my food consumption? It goes up. So that's what we mean by a normal good.
Yeah, but is there a good? I'm asking, like, is there a good where like the income decreases? Where like it has I don't know how to explain, you know what I mean?
Well, here that's the opposite. Here my income increased and the food consumption went from this to this, so it decreased. So that's the opposite. Is that what you would like to see?
Not really, but it's okay.
We can chat later about it. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's about the types of good, because now we've seen 3 types of good. But sometimes in the answer that like on the lab we can choose a luxury good.
We're getting there. We're getting there,
Oh,
but
okay,
it's a bit more complicated. So,
thank you.
but here I'm still with no answer. I just said food became more expensive. So, but you still have to define what type of good is food. Somebody knows?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So I'm here in this situation. The price of food went up. What happened to my consumption of food?
Food is a luxury good.
Luxury has to do with price or income?
Well, here the income is the same, but the price of the food is much higher, so they don't have enough income to buy as much. So food is more valuable, like it has become more valuable.
Oh, so that's so yes. So we are going to go to talk about this, but a bit later. Maybe not this time, actually. We're going to run out of time. So here, I just want you to see what happened. The price of food went up. My consumption of food went down. What does that mean about the type of good that food is?
Normal?
Normal is about income.
I'm not sure, but like substitute?
It's?
Inferior.
Inferior is that one.
It's a substitute. I'm not sure, but
It's ordinary.
ah,
So when the price increases, I consume less of it. That's just what ordinary means.
So ordinary doesn't have anything to do with the income. It's only in the change of price.
Yes, it's not my fault that my income changes. It's the food. Food doesn't make my income change. It's my income changes, and then what happens to my consumption. Or here, the price of food changes. What happens to my consumption of food? All right, and then last.
The difference between ordinary and normal is that in normal, the income increases, but in ordinary, the product, or in this case, the food, is the one that becomes more expensive.
Yes, exactly. Ordinary or given has to do with price changes, and inferior or normal has to do with income changes. All right, this is there.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So,
Sir,
yeah.
For an ordinary good, does it also mean that like when price goes down, I buy more, and when price goes up, I buy less? Like it's both, right?
Yeah, it's the same. So if so that's what I meant when I said that you could flip it. You could just say this is situation 1, this is situation 2, and it's in one case so it was cheap, it became expensive, or the other case it was expensive, it became cheap, but it's the nature of the good is not going to change. And now let me show you the most extreme example. This one. So I have, it's very hard to draw properly. Okay, that's first one, and then second. This has to go under it. And there. Yeah, all right. Okay, and this I have again, food, clothing. Question, what type of food is food? Last one. Well, there's one good that we talked about before, and
Is it luxury?
Luxury has to do with income. If I'm rich, if I'm poor, this has to do with price change.
Giffen?
Yes, giffen. It's very weird, but it can happen. In that case, you see that food became more expensive. So it's giffen. So the price change was the same. Food became more expensive, and I consumed more food. So, but you see that I had to have extreme drawing talents to be able to draw indifference curve that would match this behavior, but that's possible. So here it went up. All right.
So is this like the example you said about universities where if it's more expensive, people will go, but as soon as they drop the prices, then anyway?
Not exactly. Can you still hear me? Because my headset are dying now. Let me just.
We hear you.
Okay, good. I hear you too. So in the case of university, there are so many things going on. There's the fact that you cannot observe the good properly. There are networks effects going on, many things. So this has more like to do with the example of rice. So it's a very, very inferior good. That's what it is. So a given good, it's a good that you consume a lot and you're very poor. And it so happens that when the product becomes more expensive, it's such a blow on your budget that you have to actually consume less of the other goods that would be better and consume more of that good. But that's a very extreme case. Now, second question. What type of good is clothing compared to food? Or in relation to food? Somebody has an idea? Actually, maybe, can somebody talk so I can know that my headsets are
Yes,
still...
it's good, but
Okay, thank you. Because really they're dying and I have like 2%, so I'm scared that it's just I can't hear you. So I'm going to give you a hit. Is clothing a substitute or a complement of food?
For which example?
For this example.
Substitute.
I think not. So no, there no, because so how do you know? Well, substitute, when I consume less of one, I want to consume more of the other. Complement, when I consume more of one, I consume more of the other, less of one, less of the other. So here you consume less of food. So, and what happened to the consumption of clothing? It went down too. So it means that here it's a complement. Yeah, it's not too straight. So price of food went up, consumption of clothing went down, clothing is a substitute of food. So that's the definition of substitute. It's when the price of one good increases and the consumption of the other good decreases, then it's that's a complement. Oh, sorry, yeah, substitute complement. So let's, yeah, no, I haven't done any. Well, yeah, here can we see it? Here the price of food increased and the quantity of clothing increased. No, it went down a lot too. Yeah, but given goods are super complicated, so we shouldn't talk about substitute complement for that. Okay, so how we still have 3 minutes. So in three last minutes, I'm going to show luxury goods versus non-luxury goods.
Sir, did we answer the question, what type of good is clothing?
Yeah, so clothing was a complement. Okay, last one. Real quick. So how do you see luxury goods and necessities? So that's a bit more subtle. There we go. So first of all, is the price going to change or is my income going to change? For luxury versus necessities. Somebody knows?
Income will change, I think.
Yes, so my income changes. So it goes up, for instance. Let's add this. And here I'm going to put this line there. Okay. Or let's even put it 45 degrees, so it's very clear. I was consuming here. Now, if after my income changed, I was consuming exactly there, what does that mean? It means that my income increased by a certain proportion and my consumption of food increased by the exact same proportion, and the consumption of clothing increased by the exact same proportion, because from zero, everything is increasing in the same proportion if you look at triangles. But so that's geometry. That's the best I can tell you. But then if, for instance, my consumption went here, so what happened there? So one of the two goods is a necessity and the other is, well, actually I'm going to do the reverse. So I'm going to say that it went here. So here, one of the two goods is a luxury good. One of the two goods is a necessity good. Do you have some intuition?
Well, the clothing is the luxury good, because when your income increases, you're buying more. But when the food is the necessity, because you're buying the same exact amount.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I didn't want to be as extreme as that. Let's go this way here. Yeah. But you're right. You're right. So I still increase my consumption in food, is just not by the same proportion as my income. So last thing. So what type?
Sure. What's the line? The gray dotted line.
Yeah, gray line is just to show what I would have to do to consume each item in exactly the same proportion as before. So if I say I consume the 4 units of clothing, 4 units of food, and now I consume the 6 units of food and 6 units of clothing, then it means that the proportionally I would my consumption of each one would be exactly the same as in proportion as my change in income. Now, if I consume more clothing in proportion to my budget than before, and less food in proportion to my budget than before, then I know that clothing is luxury good and food is a necessity. So that's, I told you that we would go very quickly over a lot of concepts. So I don't expect you to grasp everything right away, but see how from just changes in income, changes in prices, and changes in behavior, we see all types of different types of goods that we can define. Consumption increased more than proportion. Clothing, and then food is necessity. Consumption increased less than income in proportion. And if they were exactly right there, so it means that the elasticity would be exactly 1. So it would be just at the frontier between necessity and luxury. In that case, you would say that they're both necessity, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now it's we're over time. So still haven't talked about the decomposition of income effect and substitution effect. So we are going to talk about this in the next class. All right, last quick question about the class, or if you have questions about specific exercises, then we can chat in private.
Yes, Mr.
Oui.
Can you go back to like the last sheet where it was like the Giffen goods? Can you explain that, because I don't understand, please?
Okay. Right. So here what happened? So situation 1, I have this budget line. I consume here. So I consume this quantity of food there. Now what happened? Well, the budget line went from this to this. So my budget didn't change, the price of clothing didn't change, but the price of food increased. So because here, if I spend all my money on clothing, I can buy exactly the same as before. But I see that if I spend all my money on food, then before I could buy 10 units, now I can buy just 5. So the price of food doubled. And then I can look at now what happened to my actual choice. Before I was choosing this quantity of food, and now I'm choosing this quantity of food, which is much higher than before. So it means that the price of food increased and my consumption of food increased, which sort of doesn't make sense. Because usually you think if something is more expensive, I should consume less of it. But now, for some reason, food became more expensive and I consume more of it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Other questions? Yeah.
Sir, I just had a quick question. I think you answered it before, but I didn't catch the answer. There's no penalty for guessing, right?
In the exam, no.
In the exam, okay. And this class was not on. It's for the next midterm, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you.
For this test, do we have to join a Zoom meeting or do we just do it alone?
Yeah, you do it alone. You just hop in on Moodle and you see the material and you can. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question because I have like extra time, but it's still like in a request, it's like in standby. So I'm not sure if it's you or that's gonna like accept it or.
Yeah, it's already automatic. So it's already set in. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So about the penalties, I'm going to ask again just to really make sure that it's. Yeah, I'm having doubts.
And
Okay.
is there a way we could find out about the penalty before the midterm if you end up asking?
No, of course I'm going to send you a message about it.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
I that's something I forgot to check again. If it were me, I wouldn't put any penalty. Let me check again. I remember that was a discussion between the teachers. Yeah, I can't find it, so I'm going to ask again, just to be sure, and I'm going to send you a quick email. All right. Okay, so thanks a lot, everybody, and best of luck for your midterm.
Sure.
Yes.
Like, so the exam is gonna pop up like on our Moodle page, right? Like if we were like to join like this class, like it would be in that section, the link to the exam.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
If there's any technical issues, are you going to be available to talk? Like, but I can send you an email, for instance, or a private message on Zoom.
During the exam, yeah. Okay, so let me note all of these things. So I'm bombarding. Yeah. So I technical issues, should I go on Zoom? And what else? Yeah, penalties. Yeah, I'm going to clarify all these things. It's just, since I'm not the one who's making the exam, it's always yeah, I'll ask about that. Yeah, no, it's not on my lab, it's on Moodle. Okay, so thanks everyone, and have a.
Wait, I have a question. Are we gonna have are you gonna give formulas?
No, so you better learn them. Don't have a
Okay,
lot of
but
formulas.
we just have to learn like I think you told us there were like 2 or 3 that we had to learn, so maybe just keep those in mind before the exam.
Yeah, so learn how to, I guess, how to compute a slope, how to compute elasticities, how to find the equilibrium. I hope I'm not forgetting stuff. It's so here's the strategy. So so how I feel about studying for exams, well, what I did when I was a student. So you do what suits you, I guess, but at some point you have to think, okay, I take these are the fundamental topics, so let me be sure I mastered that perfectly, and I'm good with the math and all of this, and then so sometimes I may give details about something, so then you should think, okay, I'm not going to think so much about that detail or that detail. So that's something that you have to see for yourself. So I can't tell you what's in the exam, but yeah, it's what I can tell you is the questions are not about some very minute point I might have made talking during the class. It's about core concepts. So make sure you understand the core concepts. And of course, about the concepts that are mostly in the books, in the slides of this.
Sorry, the exam is from 8:30 to 10, right?
Yeah, but you don't have all this time. You have a bit less time. It's just a window of time you can write it.
Do you know it ends till when?
Yeah, so I think it's 10. It's at 10. If you're not done, you cannot write anymore, I think. Yeah, you have 75 minutes to write it. Yeah, so it's 90 minutes total, 8:30 to 10, but you got 75 minutes to write it.
Thank you.
Professor,
Yeah.
could you explain where I can find the midterm on Moodle? Because someone said it's the pop-up, but I can't find it.
Oh, no, but that's so on Moodle, some contents you can see right away, some contents you can see when we, so for instance, when it's the time of the exam, then I'm going to hide the links for my lab and the videos and all this stuff, and you're going to see a link for the exam. So
No,
you refresh your page, and at some point you see the link that you can click. At 8:30, you will have a link that you can click.
Right. I don't mean the actual exam. I mean the practice exam, because I was told there was going to be a practice exam on Moodle.
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, I think yes. So it's not there yet.
When will it be there?
Oh, I wasn't sure there would be one or not.
Is it not yours?
No. Let me check okay, I'm going to ask about this. I don't control everything. That's the thing. So. And I'm going to write to the class about this thing.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Anything else?
Professor?
Yes.
So about the penalties, you don't get points off if you get an answer wrong, right? You just don't get any points.
Yeah, so I have doubts. I thought there would be no penalty, but now I think I don't remember. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. So I just I'll ask again to make sure.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll send you an email with all these questions, these answers.
All right. Thank you.
Next question. Good. Okay, so yeah, I'll write people about all these details. Okay, so thanks everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.